Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is the Metropolitan Nashville Education Association, and we're fortunate to have with us to talk about the Metropolitan Nashville Education Association the president of that association, Dr. JMerritt. And of course, Dr. Merritt, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Well, thank you for having me, Dr. Haney.
Well, to tell you how delighted we are to have you here, and to know that one of the most important issues that we could probably talk about this morning has to do with education.
Absolutely.
And being the president of the Education Association, I'm sure you got a lot of information that you can give us this morning, a lot of useful kinds of things that people really need to know. But before we get into that, Dr. Merritt, let's see if we can have you to sort of give us sort of a sketch of your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in terms of your own career that eventually led you not only into teaching, because I think at one time we had you as one of our guests dealing with the Harlem Renaissance, but not only in teaching, but later into administration and to become the president of the Metropolitan Nashville Education Association. Then we'll talk about other things.
Well, sure. I'm a native Nashvillian, and I was educated in the public school system here. So Metropolitan Nashville Education Association is a natural progression for me, because public education for me is not just a passion, it's a true love affair. I believe in public education. I'm a product of it. I went on to Tennessee State University and ended eventually with a terminal degree. I guess I have one sister, I have a mother.
Okay, and of course you're really involved in education and in a real sense, because I think one of the most important things that we have to deal with now is education, and I think that if there is...
Oh, you asked about my teaching, not to cut you off, but I did teach for 10 years, and then I became a guidance counselor. I'm not in administration, I became a guidance counselor. I did run a program for 2 years that was eliminated a year or so ago, but I'm a guidance counselor.
So that's...
I want to clarify that I'm not in administration.
Okay. Okay, very good. And I can imagine, I know why that would be so. But what we're saying here, Dr. Merritt, I think, is that really your association it has to meet a great challenge, because the recent cutbacks in education, I mean, in funding for education, and I think that will create a real situation for your association and the kind of things that you have to deal with. As a matter of fact, you know, quite a bit of that information has been in the newspaper recently. So let's have you talk about some of the things that some of the challenges that you face now.
Well, I took office July 15th, so the first challenge that hit me is that the school board had not ratified the 05-06 contract. And we are processing that through the grievance process, and it's at the level of arbitration now. And I understand on one of the local talk shows yesterday, radio talk show, that someone said, how could the teachers be fighting for a raise when it's budget cut time? Well, it's not about a raise. It's about accountability. It's about trust, respect, commitment, and priorities. It's about the example we're setting for children. We as teachers teach children to follow the rules, but our school board's not following the rule. The rule is that you go back to the table. You don't make a unilateral decision. It has to be negotiated. So we recognize the fact that there's no money, but it's about following the rules. So that's the first thing. And then, of course, as it went on until September, we worked toward the sales tax referendum, which ultimately failed, and now we're looking at a budget crisis.
Well, you know, it seems to me that that the cuts that have been proposed in the inability to create the kind of educational situation that you need is something that the entire Nashville community ought to be concerned about. I mean, has there been another effort to recognize that perhaps that first effort to get the financial resources, because I think that's what you're talking about, because you're talking about money. And what you have to have in order to operate a school system is money, you see, and there has to be some, well, what are you doing in reference to that as an organization?
The school board has asked me to sit at the table, along with Tommy Morton Young from the NAACP and Edmund Odom from the Interdenominational Ministerial Fellowship, to bring the community concerns. Don Driscoll from the support staff union is there, and one of the parents from the Parent Advisory Council. So we're talking about the issues. I don't know why they invited me to the table ultimately. not clear, but I have made it clear that I'm not going to be there just for show. I am going to talk about the concerns of this community. We've been meeting every Thursday night, and parents have been coming out and saying how they feel about the closings of schools. The first meeting, I presented a document that Council Lady Tucker had authored, suggesting some cuts, and I really want them to look at everything that the community presents, because I think everything needs to be considered.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's have this first commercial break.
That's
the
fine.
information that we're looking for. Let's have this first commercial break, and then we'll come back during that second segment and give you an opportunity to do that.
Absolutely.
And we'll be back with you following this very, very short commercial break.